Hey, this is Mike from Run Testers, and in this video we're going to be talking about another Diadora shoe that we have been sent. Also, we have done a first run video of the Diadora Gara Carbon, which is a more speed racing focused shoe. We will be doing a full review of that. It is coming. We've obviously got a lot of other shoes coming in after a little bit of a quiet launch period. There are some more shoes coming in. Some we can and can't talk about just yet. So yeah, we're going to spend some time talking about the other Diadora shoe that we've sent. As I said, I apologise to Diadora if I absolutely kind of butcher this pronunciation, but this is the Diadora Cellula. And unlike the Gara Carbon, this is about slowing things down. This is a shoe built for long runs, easy runs, when you are running quicker in something like the Gara Carbon. So first, I'm going to take you through the key details about the Cellula, then get you into my kind of first run experiences, and give you a little bit of an initial verdict on how I found running in the Diadora Cellula so far. Here's the lowdown on the Diadora Cellula. The Cellula is best described as a daily training companion to the Gara Carbon, made for easy runs and logging big mileage where speed isn't a factor. It's priced at £170 in the UK or $170 in the US, putting it up against similar easy run focused daily trainers like the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 and 26, New Balance 1080 V13, Hoka Clifton 9, Brooks Glycerin 21 and the Saucony Ride 17. Weight-wise, it drops on the scales at 276 grams, making it heavier than something like the New Balance 1080 V13, but lighter than the latest Gel-Nimbus. It's a shoe with a 5mm drop, coming in at 33mm at the heel and 28mm at the forefoot. The upper is made from nylon mesh and microfiber with a skinny tongue and pretty traditional laces in place. At the midsole is Diadora's EVA-based Anima cushioning that's designed to offer plenty of comfort, also offer a touch of responsiveness too. The outsole uses a wear-resistant compound that should give the Cellula scope to handle a mixture of pavement and lighter trails. So in terms of fit, I've got the Diadora Cellula in a UK size 8. That's my typical running shoe size. That's the same shoe size that I have the Diadora Gara Carbon in. The only other Diadora shoe that I've run in. Now, I feel like going true to size in this shoe as well does seem to be paying off, and I don't feel like maybe going half a size down or needing to go half a size up in this shoe. I think it fits pretty well overall. I would say naturally it's quite an accommodating shoe. It's quite a wide shoe, so I think if you're worried being a little bit on the narrow side, I don't think that's going to be a problem here. And even on my narrow feet, I didn't feel like it was overly spacious either. It definitely does open up a little bit more that midfoot, but I don't think it kind of loses anything in terms of the kind of lockdown that you'd want from a kind of slow recovery, long run shoe. Space up front of the toes is very good as well too. What I expect to see from this type of shoe, both at the front of the toes, but also at the side as well too. Other things to talk about here, the lacing. The lace is kind of this kind of spongy style lacing, so really built for not putting too much pressure on the top of your foot. So in terms of other things to talk about here, the lacing, it's kind of that spongy kind, so you're not putting these kind of massive amounts of pressure on the top of your foot. You have got this kind of gusseted tongue. I think I was surprised to see that. I thought maybe there would be a more padded or lightly padded tongue to kind of give you that kind of extra comfort on the top of your foot and kind of alleviate any kind of pressure there. I did feel like I had to move the tongue as well too. It wasn't uncomfortable, but I did feel like it moved a little bit out of position for me. You go further back, it's not a heavily padded kind of heel collar. You've got kind of a narrow kind of little bit of protection there around the Achilles as well too, but no issues in terms of a heel rub, no kind of lockdown issues for me either in that first run. So yeah, I think overall, going true to size has worked for me. I haven't found or haven't seen any major issues. Only minor, I think, grievances for me in terms of what I'm seeing here in the upper and the overall fit. But yeah, I think for most people, going true to size should be absolutely fine. So in terms of that first run, I've done just over an hour in the Diadora Cellula. That was kind of over 8 miles at 8:30 mile pace. Very much my easy running pace. Dropped it down to 8:15. That's probably the quickest I went in that run, but it was very much kind of 8:30. As I said, easy runs for me. Trying to use the shoe for the types of runs that it is best designed for. Now that's predominantly on pavements. On roads where it was quiet enough to get on the roads, and then I kind of finished it off in the park. So slightly uneven surface, but nothing too taxing or challenging for this shoe to handle. And the first thing I would say is that it feels like quite a dense shoe, first and foremost. And, you know, it doesn't sound like the most flattering word for a running shoe, but I was a little bit concerned with whether it was going to be too much shoe. But actually, when in that run, it didn't feel like a heavy or cumbersome shoe, or feel like it was a lot of shoe to have. You know, it's not the lightest of these kind of cushioned, kind of slow, long, easy run kind of shoes. You know, you look at things like the New Balance 1080 V13, it's much lighter. But I think in the grand scheme of things and where I'd want it to be, I think it is a good weight. It's not too overly heavy. And, you know, if you have something too heavy for those long runs, you start to tire, you know, you start to feel that heaviness a bit more. But I didn't feel like it ran like a heavy shoe for me in that first run. From a comfort point of view, nothing really major to report there. You know, I mentioned about the gusset tongue, which I don't absolutely love. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was more of a nuisance, I would say. But everything else I'd expect to, you know, find in a kind of, you know, a protective kind of shoe that you're going to run easy in. Good level of padding. I think, you know, the upper wrapped really nicely, and I felt like, you know, you're getting a good level of foam under your foot as well too. In terms of that midsole, it's an interesting one. So it's in kind of single density EVA based foam that Diadora uses here. I would say it's not as plush as, you know, kind of the midsole foams you're getting from, you know, similar shoes from New Balance. I would say from Saucony as well. I think also from Asics as well too. But what I do think you get is something that is going to absorb that impact in a really effective way. I think you do get a nice level of rebound there. I think there's a nice level of bounce there. I think what I really like is there's a nice rocker there as well too. It's not overly aggressive. It's just prominent enough to kind of rock and roll you through heel to toe in a really kind of nice fashion, and it just feels very comfortable to slightly pick the pace up. I didn't feel like it was awkward to do that. As I said, I was running at my easy pace, but when I had the opportunity to kind of, you know, some kind of straighter roads, quieter roads where I could run slightly more up tempo in this shoe, it didn't feel like it was an awkward shoe to do that. As I said, I did drop it down to kind of 7:58 minute mile pace at points, and I felt like it wasn't uncomfortable to do that in this shoe. I do think it is, there's a good level of kind of cushioning there. I think, as I say, I do think it absorbs that impact very well. It does, as I say, it feels like a dense shoe, and I think that really comes from that midsole. But ultimately, I think what you're getting in that midsole is something that is on the right side of firm, the right side of plush. You can sink a little bit into it, but it's not too much that you don't feel like you're getting that protection over, you know, over that run. And I think ultimately that was the key thing that really kind of stood out for me in my kind of running time, or my first run in this shoe. When you go down below that and you look at the outsole, now it's dry conditions at the moment and the outsoles felt fine. As I said, I ran on pavements, on roads, absolutely fine. Gripping was fine, kind of moved pretty relatively agile for a cushion shoe as well too. In that kind of last park element, it was absolutely fine as well too. What I would really want to see is if it gets a little bit wetter, is the outsole going to hold up as well? You know, there's not a huge amount of rubber here. It's quite a thin level of rubber on that outsole. It's not fully encased in rubber either. You compare that to some other kind of cushion shoes, you're probably going to get a little bit more rubber, a little bit more protection there. So will that durability be there? I think that's ultimately something that I want to see. So it's initial thoughts on the Diadora Cellula after one run, and I'd have to say a little bit like my time or initial running time in the Gara Carbon, I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've seen in this shoe so far. And as this being my kind of second Diadora shoe that I've run in, I can kind of get a sense of why there's a little bit of buzz, a little bit of excitement about the Diadora road running shoes, because, you know, for the running I've done so far in these shoes, I'm seeing something that's, you know, exciting there, or, you know, memorable in terms of those kind of initial running experiences. And, you know, I leveled that to my first run in the Cellula as well too. I think in terms of being a shoe that is, you know, obviously a bit more, you know, a bit more cushion compared to the Gara Carbon, designed for long runs, slow runs, easy runs. I'm kind of seeing all the things you'd want there. You know, it's a comfortable shoe, it kind of wraps really nicely. I think in terms of the ride and the midsole, you are getting something that's not super plush like something like the Asics Gel-Nimbus, Saucony Ride, Brooks Glycerin, New Balance 1080 V13, which I think this shoe kind of sits in that criteria of shoe. But what I think you get is something, you know, that has a little bit of bounce there. I think it's a nice rocker, you know, in that shoe as well. So, you know, getting from heel to toe feels very nice. and it feels stable as well, which is kind of what you want when you're running a little bit longer in your shoe. You know, it's naturally quite a wide base, so I think, you know, that it lends itself to being a pretty stable shoe. And I think coupled with that midsole, which I said is not super plush like some other shoes that kind of sit in this criteria, I do think there's a lot to like about the shoe. And, you know, it's a shoe that in that first run I've enjoyed, you know, kind of running it in so far. But yeah, so far I would say I've been mostly impressed. I think I'm seeing good things here from the Cellular. It's a shoe that instantly I am looking forward to running a little bit more, and it's not a shoe I've come away with thinking there's not much going on here. Do I want to go back running in this immediately in the next couple of days? You know, I haven't had that feeling, so I think that's important for me, and that's a similar feeling I've had with the Gara Carbon. So definitely some positives here. I think as a cushion shoe for long runs, slow runs, easy runs, I'm seeing all the things I'd want to see in a shoe that is fit for those types of runs. So yeah, okay, so there you go. Those are some initial thoughts on the Diadora Cellular. Now, obviously, some more running to do before we get to a full review. And as I said, there will be a full review of the Diadora Gara Carbon once we've done a little bit more testing in that as well. But if you have got any questions about the Diadora range, about the Cellular, let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos. And yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.